Hi, name's Oliver, and have you ever seen the DreamWorks movie Megamind? It's a great movie with a lot of heart, good comedy, and a very competently written cast of characters in a story that subverts superhero tropes while not using that gimmick as a crutch. And, of course, one of the most important characters in the movie is the superhero Markiplier. What? Metro Man? Are you sure that's not the same guy? Alright. So, Metro Man is a character in the film Megamind who works as a foil to our titular protagonist, Meg. Metro Man, originally named Wayne Scott by his adoptive parents, lords as a man with, one could say, super abilities. Becomes, as mentioned prior, Metro Man, the savior of Metro City. Megamind and Metro Man were both aliens sent from their homeworlds as babies before they were sucked into a black hole as the last surviving members of their people. However, the two had vastly different upbringings, with Metro Man being taken in by a rich couple whose living room he lands in, whereas Megamind is raised by the inmates of the prison that he lands in. This leads to them becoming the superhero and supervillain, respectively, of Metro City. The catalyst for the movie's events comes in one of Metro Man and Megamind's encounters as adults. Megamind breaks out of prison with help from his trusty companion Chum and kidnaps famed news reporter Roxanne Ritchie. A superhero story as old as time, or at least superhero stories. Metro Man and Roxanne are a very clear spoof of Superman and Lois Lane, a superpowered alien sent from a destroyed planet to Earth who has the powers of super strength and flight, and the top reporter at a major news network. It's textbook, and the movie isn't coy about this in the slightest. Upon being kidnapped, Roxanne is more annoyed than scared. They've been through the routine of the heroes love being kidnapped and needing to be saved infinite times. Even Megamind is aware of this, even if he's not willing to admit it. The entire dynamic between these two is nothing but a charade, a purpose that Megamind feels as though was thrusted upon him, despite no real desire to do anything actually vindictive. This encounter, however, proves to be different. Megamind tricks Metro Man into going into an abandoned observatory with a laser beam powered by the sun aimed directly at it, which turns out to be made by copper. Something that none of the characters until this moment knew was actually Metro Man's weakness. Yeah, his kryptonite is the same material that the penny is made of. However hard that may be to believe, Megamind's giant laser activates, destroying the observatory. Megamind trapped Metro Man in, leaving only skeletal remains of the hero sent flying towards a shocked trio of Meg, Roxy, and Chum. This leads to Megamind becoming the mayor, but he becomes discontented in his new lack of purpose, and so he creates a new superhero in the form of Titan, using Metro Man's DNA. This ends up becoming a massive problem when Titan turns out to be a massive incel. In the end, Megamind ends up flipping the script and becoming the hero that he always saw himself defiant to, falls in love with Roxanne Ritchie himself, and gets a museum or something, not important. However, one moment in this movie has always stood out as kind of strange to me. Near the climax of the movie, it's revealed that copper was not, in fact, a weakness of Metro Man, when a copper fails to contain Titan, leading to Megamind and Roxanne searching through Metro Man's old compound to see if they can figure out how to stop Titan, where they find good old Wayne Scott still alive. In this compound, he is disheveled, covered in overgrown hair and wearing a bathrobe. He tells the pair that he has taken up a new mantle as Music Man. He tells the story, and we get to see a flashback of how he got bored of doing the same thing over and over again with Megamind. Something very clearly displayed at the beginning of the movie with both Metro Man and Roxanne's attitudes towards the encounter. And so he decided to fake his own death. And that all checks out, right? The skeleton in the cape somehow surviving an explosion Metro Man himself supposedly couldn't. Copper being revealed as a false weakness for Metro Man when it has no effect on Titan. Even his demeanor in the first encounter at the beginning of the movie shows he's sick of the routine. But is it really that simple? I don't believe that Metro Man is being completely honest with Roxanne and Megamind here. Let's take a look at the scene where Metro Man explains the existential crisis he experiences during the Sunbeam incident. We see him exploring his mental health throughout the city, moving at extreme speed. Speed so extreme that time practically stops around him. We see him read self-help books, meditate by flying kites. But let's think about the mechanics of this super speed. Metro Man is able to control his own perception of time. We see through his perspective how he slows down time at whatever rate he wishes. We even see him throughout this flashback use his super speed within slowed time. He moves faster than we can even perceive, even when seeing it through his perception. This speed, this power, is immense, unfathomable, and appears to be usable on command. No restrictions. So then, how come Wayne is seen being caught genuinely off guard just seconds earlier? When Meg and Rox enter the compound, they find a freshly poured glass of water with unmelted ice cubes. Metro Man returns expecting his water, but finds a power couple instead. He attempts to tiptoe backwards to escape the awkward encounter, but lands on a creaky floorboard, revealing himself to the pair. But how could this even possibly happen? Thinking about it, we know that Metro Man can slow down time to a complete standstill. If he really did want to escape this situation like his composure implies, why wouldn't he just zip away the instant he saw the two in his compound? In fact, why would he even keep it in the same location? Think about it. Metro Man has seemingly infinite strength and speed. If he really wanted to disappear, why wouldn't he make a new home for himself far away? He could carve out a mountain in an instant, to create his very own bat cave that only he could access. His new identity doesn't even make a whole lot of sense. Music Man? There's really no evidence that Wayne Scott or Metro Man has any interest in music. It's possible that it wasn't shown to us, sure, and this could be supported by the guitars in the compound, but I have my doubts about that. In fact, let's look at the guitars. Not so much as a scratch on a single one of them. And if he had such an interest, he would have at least had some musical skills. It's not like he was always fighting Megamind, he surely had free time. In fact, infinite free time. If his time and space manipulation is truly as powerful as we see it. And wait, let's think about this compound itself. His hiding place, his fortress of solitude, is an old red schoolhouse. In fact, it's the same schoolhouse where Metro Man and Megamind went to school together. We even watch Metro Man fly the school to what we can presume is this very hill in the beginning minutes of the movie. But why? Why this school? It's somewhat inconspicuous, sure, but we never really get any evidence that this school is important to Metro Man. In fact, he likely dropped out of school at some point to become a hero. So why this schoolhouse? Why stay there? Why reveal himself? Well, I believe that this is all part of a grand scheme. A plan orchestrated by Metro Man himself from the very beginning of the film's events. Now, to prove that Metro Man in fact had a conspiracy, we need to really understand his origin. The first minutes of the film explain how Megamind and Metro Man have practically the same origins. Both of their home planets were destroyed, and both of them were sent as babies in escape pods that landed on Earth. Two are different sides to the same coin. Even then, we can see stark differences from the first second they exist together. Metro Man's escape pod is swanky as shit. He has cushions and calming lights, and milk attached to his head like a Philly baseball fan. The disparity between their physical abilities and the proximity of their planets tells us that there was likely a large class divide between these two species and these two planets. Metro Man has innate abilities, insanely powerful ones, whereas Megamind seems to be roughly, if not exactly, the same strength as a human. But Megamind does have a binky with seemingly infinite energy. He creates all kinds of insane machinery from this nipple substitution. This, alongside Metro Man's sick, smug smile towards Megamind as they fly away from their disintegrating homelands, tells us a lot about the dynamics of these two societies. Metro Man is the white oppressor to Megamind's blue-headed minority. And we can see this classist divide in the way that the two talk to each other. Metroman is constantly smug towards Megamind, who is treated as a little child with no idea what he's doing. He has to try 10 times as hard as Metroman just to mimic a fraction of his power. But Oliver, I'm sure you're asking, how does this prove anything? Well, you stupid little straw man, you. This proves first and foremost a motivation. Metroman, as we have firmly established, is exceedingly powerful. He has the ability to slow time to seemingly as much as he wants, if not even to manipulate in any way that he wishes. That much is unclear. And thinking back to Metroman's explanation of why he faked his death, I believe that in every muddy clump of lies resides a golden nugget of truth. It's safe to say that at some point Metroman did in fact slow down time to a standstill, to read about the psyche, to attempt to become a better person. However, I don't believe this was out of boredom like he claims. I believe that this was out of white guilt. As he reflects on his people, he likely comes to the same observation as us. The dynamic of othering and oppression has been subconsciously and cyclically perpetuated. This explains why Metroman would do all of this. He fakes his death to lower the impregnable image of his physical status. He intentionally gets caught, confesses, and pretends to be a bad musician to lower his integrity and morality in the eyes of Roxanne and Megamind. And he even keeps Megamind along the correct path the entire way. Think about it, all of the close calls Megamind has with Roxanne, the convenience of Megamind finding the cave with fresh Metro dandruff on it. The moment where Roxanne is confronted with the truth of Megamind's persona of Bernard is perfectly orchestrated. A major plot throughout the film is that Megamind assumes the identity of the librarian Bernard in order to get closer to Roxanne Ritchie, someone that he falls in love with, either before or after killing Metroman. And during this, he has many close calls where Roxanne almost discovers his identity. And one night, they have a date, where not only Titan, who is also in love with Roxanne Ritchie, sees Roxanne and Bernard on a date, but Megamind's identity is also revealed on this date.
Coincidence? I think not!
At the perfect moment to be completely devastating for him, as he has just lost his best friend, Chum. This is what gives Megamind the push that he needs to become a hero. Roxanne only found out about Megamind's hideout because of the fake dome on top of the building he was using. The fake dome only still there because Metroman decided to fake his own death on that particular scheme. The old schoolhouse being the location of Metroman's headquarters. It's not significant to Metroman, sure, but it is significant to Megamind. This schoolhouse is an intentional reminder of Megamind's past, and how it isn't his destiny to be a villain. This was the moment that Megamind became a villain, became othered by this society, as his society had against Metroman's. And all of this was used as motivation to turn Megamind into the best hero he could be. This maniacal, metrosexual madman planned every step. Even Hulk, the man who becomes Titan, was always with Roxanne and was madly in love with her. To a obsessive degree. He had every motivation to become a villain when given powers and after Roxanne's inevitable rejection. And Metroman knew this, he had to. From Titan, we also learn that Metroman has the ability to see and hear vast distances with intense and specific focus, giving more credence to the idea that Metroman could not have been oblivious to any of this. And how did Hulk end up being the one with powers? He happened to be perfectly aligned with the pipe that Megamind and Roxanne accidentally shoot the powers into. Metroman orchestrated it. He used his super speed to position Hulk without him even realizing it. Like 100 ninjas. Maybe he even set off the gun. Who can say? And at the very end of the film, what is it that we are shown? Sure, we see Megamind and Roxanne celebrating their victory. We get a fun little dance sequence. But we also see Metroman in the crowd of Megamind's new museum unveiling in a trench coat and hat, watching Megamind from afar and telling him that he's proud of him. Megamind is a movie about self-improvement, about destiny and how it isn't predetermined, and how it's never too late to change. However, that is all a facade. A mask for the true story. A story of guilt A member of an exceptionally privileged class realizing his race's mistakes and attempting to amend them by lowering his own image and orchestrating a plan to make the last member of the group his people used to oppress into the hero of his own story. This man was there at every moment, proving that he is still a hero by fighting the villain of classism, but also defying the film's themes of anti-predeterminism by orchestrating Megamind's destiny from the start. This is the truth of Metro Man, fiction's most powerful character, and the puppet master of the events of Megamind. Thank you for watching. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I just wanted to thank all my fan out there for making all this wonderful fan art. And I will see you guys in the next one.